When I took the job at the Desert Inn, I didn't expect much. It was a tiny roadside motel in the middle of nowhere. Just one long stretch of asphalt, flanked by nothing but sand and silence. The manager, a tired-looking man named Roy, hired me on the spot. Night shifts, minimal duties, and a free room in the back. It sounded like a dream job for someone who needed a reset. Roy handed me the keys, gave me a quick tour of the lobby and back office, then paused with an oddly serious expression. "There's one last thing," he said, reaching into the drawer beneath the front desk. He pulled out a laminated sheet of paper and slid it toward me. "These are the overnight rules. I need you to read them carefully and follow them to the letter. No exceptions." I laughed, thinking he was joking. Rules for a motel night shift? What was I going to do? Fold towels wrong? His face didn't move. "I'm serious. You follow them or you don't last here. That's not a threat. It's just how it works." Still half amused, I took the paper and read it. The rules were typed out neatly in bold font. There were 7 in total. Rule 1. After 11:11 p.m., do not check in any guests who don't have a reservation in the system. If someone insists, call the office line and do not make eye contact. Rule 2. If you hear knocking on the lobby window but see no one there, do not open the door. Turn off all lights and hide behind the front desk until the knocking stops. Rule 3. Between 2:03 and 2:09 a.m., a man in a gray suit may walk into the lobby. He will not speak. Do not speak to him. Do not move. Do not blink. He will leave when he is ready. Rule 4. The phone behind the front desk may ring around 3 a.m. Do not answer it unless it rings exactly 3 times. If it rings more or less, unplug it immediately. Rule 5. If you see your reflection move differently than you, leave the room and lock the door behind you. Do not re-enter until the sun rises. Rule 6. Do not, under any circumstances, enter room 8, even if you hear screaming, especially if you hear screaming. Rule 7. If a guest named Mrs. Winthrop calls for extra towels, ignore the request. She hasn't been a guest here since 1992. By the time I finished reading, I wasn't laughing anymore. I looked up at Roy, waiting for a punchline that never came. "You're not serious?" I said, more as a question than a statement. "I'm very serious," he replied. "You'll understand soon enough. See you in the morning, if all goes well." And with that, he was gone, leaving me alone in the empty lobby. The first couple of hours passed without incident. I watched TV behind the desk, browsed my phone, and occasionally flipped through the logbook out of boredom. Around 10:45 p.m., a family checked in, 2 tired-looking parents and a young boy clinging to a blanket. They had a reservation. No issues there. I gave them the key to room 3 and wished them a good night. At exactly 11:11, the lobby phone buzzed with a call from the automated system. A reservation had just been canceled. I didn't think much of it until a minute later the front door creaked open. A man in a stained white dress shirt stepped in. He was barefoot with long matted hair and pale skin that looked almost gray in the fluorescent light. His eyes were glassy. "Need a room," he mumbled. I checked the system. Nothing. No reservations, no walk-ins allowed after 11:11. Rule 1. "I'm sorry," I said, keeping my tone polite. "We don't have any rooms available tonight." "You sure?" he said, his eyes locking onto mine. "I swear I had a room." I felt something cold crawl down my spine. "Let me check with the manager," I lied, grabbing the office phone. As I dialed the number Roy had left me, the man's gaze didn't leave mine. The line rang once, then twice, then click. Roy's voice came through in a harsh whisper. "Don't look at him. Hang up and go to the back room. Now." I didn't hesitate. I broke eye contact, hung up, and rushed into the office, locking the door behind me. I crouched down in the dark, listening as the man shuffled around the lobby. He knocked once on the desk, then again, then silence. When I peeked out minutes later, he was gone. The rest of the night only got worse. At 2:04 a.m., the man in the gray suit arrived. I didn't hear him come in. The lights just flickered, and there he was, standing in the middle of the lobby like he'd always been there. His face was blank, lifeless. He didn't blink. Neither did I. I held my breath, staring just past him, praying silently. 2 minutes later, he turned and walked back out the door. At 3 a.m., the phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. I stared at it, my fingers trembling above the receiver. I answered. A voice crackled through, barely more than a whisper. "You shouldn't have come here," it said. "Now you'll see what she wants." The line went dead. A moment later, the phone rang again, 4 times. I yanked the cord out of the wall. Then came the worst moment of the night. At 3:27 a.m., the hallway security camera feed glitched. For a second, the screen showed static. Then, clear as day, I saw room 8's door swing open on its own. A woman stepped out. Her back was to the camera. Her hair was long, stringy, and soaking wet, as if she'd just climbed out of a lake. She turned toward the lens. There were no eyes, just dark, empty sockets. And she was smiling. I tore my eyes away, heart racing, sweat slicking my palms. I hit the lock all doors command on the monitor system and backed away from the desk. At 4:15 a.m., I caught my reflection in the office window. It was staring back at me, but I wasn't moving. It tilted its head. I didn't. I bolted from the room and locked the door behind me, just like the rules said. I spent the rest of the shift sitting on a plastic chair in the laundry room, clutching the laminated sheet to my chest and watching the hands of my watch tick toward daylight. At exactly 6:01 a.m., the sky turned gray with the coming sun. The hallway lights brightened. The air felt lighter. Roy showed up 15 minutes later, sipping from a thermos. He saw my face and nodded, unsurprised. "You followed the rules," he said. I didn't answer. I just handed him the laminated paper and walked out the front door. I never came back. Not for my final paycheck. Not even to collect the things I left in the back room. But sometimes, late at night, I dream about room 8. And in those dreams, the door is always open.